For almost 9 months now, I've been working on a top-down dungeon crawler with my team. It's called Into the Chasm, and at this point, most of the base game is complete. But one thing that it really needs is a good looting system, so in this devlog, I'm going to be adding chests and looting to the game. My original idea was for chests to be full of armor and weapons, but since the only differences would be stats, this wouldn't be unique at all. I decided that they would contain pickups, spells, and XP potions, and that way they wouldn't be overpowered. But I couldn't fit all of these into one chest, so I just designed 3 different types. When opened, the first type drops a random spellbook page, which unlocks an ability, but there's a chance of getting a duplicate, and that chance only grows as you collect more spells. The second type drops one random in-game pickup, like an orb or a health potion, as well as one XP potion. It also has a chance of spawning a spider instead. The final type gives one health potion, one orb, and one XP potion. I thought this added enough variety for now. So now I needed art for all these chests. Luckily, the entire team was already having a meeting around then, so we just worked on the graphics then. I created the first chest, Colonel Turtle created the second, and made a version with the spider webs for when a spider comes out of it, and your local Chris created the third. They all look pretty good in game, though I did have to scale them a bit. We also created second frames for them for when they're open, because it would look sort of odd for them to just put the loot on the ground, but never change their sprite. The next thing I needed was a way to open these chests. I considered using the keys that are already in the game, but I didn't want people to use all their keys on chests and then get stuck behind a door because they have none left. So I made a golden key, which was literally just a recolored normal key. I didn't even have to open the pixel art program for this, I just recolored it inside Godot. It opens the chests, and I'll hide them around the levels. I then spent a long time adding a bunch of chests throughout the levels, mostly in areas that it would make sense for the story. One problem was that they would spawn their loot in walls, so I made an export variable in the editor that allows me to pick where to spawn the loot, which completely fixed the problem. There was still a problem though, which was that I never actually created the XP potion. For art, I just edited and recolored an old sprite by Colonel Turtle, and then I made a quick system in-game for giving XP. So now the chests are working perfectly, but there is a massive issue with them, which is that you can just open them, collect the XP, exit to menu, and repeat to farm tons of XP. You can also do this for abilities, and I really don't know how to solve this, so if you have any ideas, post them below, I guess. I'm still pretty happy with how this has turned out, but it wasn't done yet. I worked for a while on a new spinning sword ability, but I couldn't finish it yet. The problem is the animation player node in Godot kept on just making the sword go back and forth on one half of the player, and I'm not sure how to fix this. I think I may just be able to add more keyframes to fix it, but I haven't done that yet. I worked for a while on a game for TryJam, and I lost a lot of time to that. The next thing I noticed was that the game was really lagging. I realized I needed to optimize performance, so I got to work. I used the visibility notifier 2G node in Godot to detect whether the lights, enemies, and pickups were visible on screen. If they aren't, I disable rendering on them. This noticeably improved the game's performance, but it wasn't enough. I sadly can't use this node on individual tile map tiles yet, but that may be fixed in a future version of Godot. Because of the way I coded the game's enemies, I can't use entity spawners or despawners. There are no projectiles, so I couldn't use pooling, and a chunking system would require me to remake every level. I don't know what more to do, but hopefully this problem is just on my computer. If you think you know how to fix this, please tell me in the comments. One thing I did fix that not only improved performance, but also improved how fun the game is I made spiders only spawn webs after a certain amount of time after the game starts, because previously, almost all the spawners would already have webs next to them by the time you found them, which could just be really annoying. And I think it's more fun when they happen to spawn them in the middle of a fight, because you can get stuck in them and have trouble fighting the spider. Another thing I worked on a lot was the story for the game. Into the Chasm is supposed to be a heavily story-based game, so I need to write it and tell it well. Obviously, I can't discuss it here without spoiling the game, but just know that that has been done. I spent a while fixing bugs, like one bug that caused the abilities upgrade to not actually do anything, and I also completely rebalanced XP, making things more expensive and making XP harder to come by. Finally, I made power potions a bit more powerful because they were just a bit too expensive for how little power they gave you. I've really been delaying making new levels a lot, but I did force myself to spend some time visualizing a layout for level 8. I'm really worried about whether the game will actually be fun, and I've considered releasing a demo. If I do, it will be available on my Patreon, but don't count on it. If you do join the Patreon, it's $1 a month for free access to all our games, as well as a Discord server role and a bunch of other content and perks. Speaking of the Discord server, you should totally join it. We have a lot of interesting conversations, and the server is becoming less dead by the minute. There's a link below. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, and you may also enjoy this video about how I added the armory and new spells to the game.